does. If it moves civilians out of the way, it's accused of ethnic cleansing. If it doesn't, it's hypocritically accused of genocide. So this is a very, very difficult, indeed well-nigh impossible situation. And it's not made any easier when the international community and indeed the US government leans on Israel to stop or pause or cease fire, because that only allows Hamas to regroup and it almost certainly prolongs the conflict. I want to add another point, Piers. This is not just about Gaza. It's also about the other areas where Israel is under attack. It's about the unstable situation in the West Bank. It's about the possibility that at any moment Hezbollah could launch a massive bombardment of rockets and missiles from Lebanon into Israel. And there's more, because there are also all kinds of forces in Syria that bear ill will towards Israel. The war has the potential to escalate and grow in multiple ways. We're in a kind of lull at the moment, incredible though it may seem to say that. And my fear is that at some point in the coming weeks, we'll see the next phase of the war. A new front will be opened up and Israel will be fighting not only in Gaza, but potentially elsewhere for its very survival. And I want to underline to your viewers, given the very small size of Israel and its vulnerability in a neighborhood where it's almost entirely surrounded by hostile forces, its very survival is at stake. So I think it's very important, particularly for people in Britain and the US, not to be swayed by the very clever propaganda that comes out of Gaza, often Hamas crafted, often Hamas authorized, which is designed to make you think there's some moral equivalence here, because there really can't be moral equivalence when Israel is retaliating for the appalling attacks of October the 7th. And that is a just war that is being fought right now. Is war ever clean? No. Are there civilian casualties in war? Nearly always, particularly in modern times. That's the reality. And I'm afraid we have more to face of this harsh reality, because this war is only likely to escalate in the coming weeks.
How does it end? I mean, you're a historian. You have covered many conflicts and wars. I just worry about whether Israel has an endgame here that doesn't just involve, in many of their eyes in the leadership, just taking over Gaza, for example, occupying it completely going forward. Do you see anything other than that happening?
Well, there's no great appetite within the Israeli military for an occupation of Gaza, because they have bitter memories of what that was like before, and indeed what other occupations the Israeli army, the Israeli Defense Forces have carried out in the past. But who has a better idea at this point? It's a little difficult to imagine the dust settling and a new force emerging to take the place of Hamas that isn't just as bad. It's not like the Palestinian Authority is about to be put back in charge of Gaza. Everybody knows that Palestinian Authority is an oxymoron. Those two words no longer meaningfully belong together. There are some other options which I think need to be considered. After all, what's the United Nations for if it's not to send blue helmets into dangerous territories where the alternative is ongoing conflict? And that seems to me to be the kind of thing that should be under much more serious discussion at the moment, internationalizing Gaza. That seems the kind of end game that would make much more sense to me than an Israeli occupation that would almost certainly just become a succession of terrorist attacks and countermeasures.
Yeah, I agree. Just want to turn briefly to Ukraine, because obviously Ukraine has almost been forgotten at the moment, at a very worrying time if you're President Zelensky, with American financial support for their military endeavors looking like it's pretty perilous in terms of future financial input. Where are we with this Ukraine war? Is it, as some people fear now, inevitable that there will have to be some kind of deal that involves Putin swallowing up some, if not all, of the land that he has barbarically stolen?
Well, Piers, 20 years ago, I wrote a book called American Colossus, and I argued there that one of the problems of American power is the attention deficit